Good morning. We've got a lively crowd this morning. Trustee Mosier said, I can't hear anything. It's so loud in here. So great to see a great group. Right. Great to see this crowd that we've got. And let's go ahead and call the meeting to order for the June 18th meeting. The Texas Government Code permits this Board of Trustees to meet in a closed executive session for the following reasons, among others: to consult with the college district's attorneys on matters deemed privileged by the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct or Government Code 551.071, to deliberate regarding real property under 551.072, a prospective gift under 551.073, certain personnel matters under 551.074, security devices or security audits under 551.076, and economic development negotiations under 551.087. If the board meets in closed session, we will announce this particular section, under which we will be doing so prior to initiating the closed portion of the meeting. We will now have our invocation and pledge to the American and Texas flags. We got two Blinn students with us today. Jake Kokorst and Ben Bossy. Jake transferred from TCU after his freshman year and spent the past 2 years at Blinn. He was part of the baseball team that had back-to-back JUCO World Series appearances, winning the national championship in 2024. Jake graduated in May with an associate's degree in agriculture and will continue his academic and athletic career with Baylor University next year. He considers it an honor to be part of the Blinn baseball team and will forever be a Blinn Buccaneer. Ben Bossy. Ben is proud to be a third-generation Blinn College student athlete and to make it to the JUCO World Series. He graduated in May with an Associate of Arts degree. Ben is returning to Auburn University in July to continue as a student athlete, majoring in business administration. He is thankful for the academic and athletic opportunities that Blinn College has provided. Guys, y'all can come forward, and I'll just say that I know both of these boys pretty well. Really happy to have them here.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for gathering all these people here today for Blinn College. Thank you for giving these board members the wisdom to make Blinn College a fantastic place to go to school, and we pray that Blinn College continues to thrive. Lord, there's a ton of turmoil in our country right now, and I pray that you keep us on the right path and keep us unified. Thank you, Lord, for the countless blessings you've showered upon us and continue to shower upon us. And personally, dear Lord, thank you for blessing me with the opportunity to come back to Blinn and compete for this baseball team, compete for my community. Dear Lord, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Always thought it would be kind of cool for Jake to give you the invocation of the pledge. I'm kind of tickled that it happened. So, it does not appear that anyone signed up for public comment today, so we're going to go ahead and go straight into Dr. Hensley's Chancellor's Administrative Report.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, trustees. Thank you all so much for joining us today. There has been so much good news and good things, so many great things happening at Blinn, and so I'd like to focus on a few of those this morning. And you can see that we have a number of guests in the audience, and we'll be introducing those individuals shortly as well. But I'd like to go ahead and start off, if I might, regarding our construction project. So let's start with our facilities report first. On the Brenham campus, the demolition of Spencer Hall has been completed, and the contractor is now proceeding with Catherine Atkinson, Buccaneer, and Lockett Halls. This project is scheduled for completion in August. Did you notice as you drove in this morning, trustees, that Spencer was gone and it just looked a little different, didn't it? A lot more green space there. Now, over at the academic building, the contractor has completed the ceiling grid and the tile in all of the corridors. The wall repair, painting, and floor refinishing will take place in the coming weeks, and the new classroom and office signage has been ordered. This project is also scheduled for completion in August. Now over to the Blinn College Park Apartments. Contractors have completed the flooring replacement in buildings 4 and 5. The flooring replacement in building 7 is now underway. This project, trustees, is scheduled for completion this July. Now, to the Bryan Campus Administration Building. The building envelope is partially dried in, and site utilities are nearing completion. The exterior windows and brick installation, interior wall framing, drywall, and the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing rough-ins are in progress. Facilities is finalizing the contracts to purchase the furniture and audiovisual equipment authorized at last month's board meeting. Trustees, this project is still on schedule, I'm so pleased to say, still on budget, and the completion deadline we're still looking at is for February of 2025, now in less than a year. And now let's go to the celebrations, shall we? Let's start off with esports. In April, trustees, we recognized our fall 2023 national champion Valorant esports team with a ceremony in which the coaches and players were presented with their national championship rings. These players, who were recognized at a previous board meeting, represented the first esports national championship team in Blinn's history. That achievement was followed by Blinn's recent Call of Duty National Championship, which just occurred this spring. At this time, I would like to share a brief video recapping our recent ring presentation ceremony.
They reached the pinnacle as national champions much more quickly than we could have imagined and dreamed when we started the program in the fall of 2020.
What a rare accomplishment this is. You know, when I think back, we just started this program in 2020, and we're already a national champion thanks to you all. That's just amazing accomplishment.
Working on the sound, I think, and the video, Rich.
For you and for Blinn College. If you know me at all, it's not that I just want to participate, but I want Blinn to be number one in the community, number one in the state of Texas, and number one in the nation.
Just want to say we are so
Pause
excited
for a minute.
and
Rich,
so
let's get the video
proud of
audio
each and
working
every
for
one of you on our esports team. To be national champions, what an accomplishment you have
Worked
made.
so hard for their
You have
national
made
income.
Blinn
Just
proud.
sharing how
Very
much they enjoyed it. While we're waiting, I'll just notice that is a real shirt that's been framed. They gave me a shirt with Blinn that they had designed for esports and then had it framed and presented it to me when we were presenting them with their rings. So that was really special as well. We did the ceremony over in Mill Creek at our esports arena that we have over there. And then following this ceremony, they were competing that night, just within about an hour later. So for their ceremony, we gave them pizza, and they were happy. And then they went right back into competition and played another contest that night and won. And I'd like to acknowledge Max Hibbs. He's in the audience. Max, while we're pausing, let's just draw all of our eyes onto you. So why don't you stand, and we'll just tell you that we recognize, stand up please, Max, really. You're the esports coach and kind of the team leader for all of our programs. And trustees, just as a reminder, we do have esports at the Bryan campus, the Brenham campus, and the Rellis campus. And as we are kind of talking about our presence in Waller, we've been talking with Max about perhaps an esports presence in the Waller area as well in the future. And how are our techs doing on the sound?
Very, very proud, and we are so excited.
Special thank you to everyone who made this possible, and especially a thank you to my players. It is a pleasure to work with you guys. You are some of the best players I've ever had the privilege to work with, some of my favorite players I've ever had the privilege to work with, and I can't wait to see what all of you guys do and all the success you guys have in the future.
I could hear it. I don't think Mosier could.
I have some more videos to show for some others. That's why I'd like to pause for a moment so we can get this one fixed, because if this isn't working, I'm fearful the next ones might not be working either. I'm going to ask our techs, if I take a handheld mic and hold it to the output, would that help at all? No, it's coming from up there.
They reached the pinnacle of as national champions much more quickly than we could have imagined and dreamed when we started the program in the fall of 2020.
What a rare accomplishment this is. You know, when I think back, we just started this program in 2020, and we're already a national champion thanks to you all. That's just amazing accomplishment for you and for Blinn College. If you know me at all, it's not that I just want to participate, but I want Blinn to be number one in the community, number one in the state of Texas, and number one in the nation.
Just want to say we are so excited and so proud of each and every one of you on our esports team. To be national champions, what an accomplishment you have made. You have made Blinn proud. Very, very proud, and we are so excited.
Special thank you to everyone who made this possible, and especially a thank you to my players. It is a pleasure to work with you guys. You are some of the best players I've ever had the privilege to work with, some of my favorite players I've ever had the privilege to work with, and I can't wait to see what all of you guys do and all the success you guys have in the future.
Well, thank you, trustees, and thank you to the techs for working on that. And a special thank you to Trustee Kettler, who went to the ceremony and was so gracious to speak. It meant so much to these fellows. They really had a good time, don't you think, Trustee Kettler? They really did, and they were so proud of their rings. And so I'm really proud of them. So here we are with 2 national championships in just a couple of years with our esports. So congratulations, Dean Hibbs. Thank you for your leadership and for the great job you're doing with our players, and we look forward to a whole bunch more coming back this coming year and some more championships to come. Well, speaking of championships and great events, I have several that I'd like to share with you today, and I'd like to talk about Rick Church first. And last April, trustees, we celebrated head softball coach Rick Church's 1,000th career win. It was so much fun. With an 8-2 victory. At Blinn. A 2021 NJCAA Hall of Fame inductee, Coach Church has led Blinn to 20 Region 14 Conference Tournament appearances, including 7 championships and a second place finish at the 2003 NJCAA National Championship. And at this time, I'd like to share a brief video regarding Coach Church's 1,000th career victory, and then I'd like to invite him to come to the podium. And if our technology still works, we'd like to ask him to say a few words.
That was a work in progress that started 27 teams ago. Like I say, it's a combination of all the players that played for you, all the assistant coaches.
All the girls wanted to really just celebrate him because it was a great accomplishment for him. To be a part of that team, to be a part of that group of girls was really special. I'll never forget that.
What you see is what you get with him, and just a great person to play for and work with. I've learned a ton from him, so I'm grateful and blessed to be able to be here through all these, from 100 as a player to now over 1,000 as a coach with him.
I was really happy and very proud of him because he's worked hard and been an amazing coach to all of us, and he's one of the best coaches I ever had.
This group of sophomores that really dedicated themselves this year to build back status as far as we are nationally, and they took that to heart, so that's special.
Thank you. Coach Church, won't you come forward?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here today and the recognition that the softball program deserves. I just happened to be the coach all those years, and I was looking at the portraits of all the past presidents here at Blinn. So I've been here for 4. I guess Dr. Guzman wasn't here long enough to get up there, so five presidents, and 5 athletic directors that I've worked under, different boards. So one thing in common with all those, I just finished my 25th year here at Blinn, is the support from administration, from athletic directors, from my fellow coaches. It's unbelievable. And just not the support, but the resources to be able to compete at a level that you can keep attracting the quality of players that allows the coach to get the victories. I mean, the victories are for the kids. I'm just the guy that wrote the lineup card most of the time, if you do your job recruiting. So it's been a blessing to be here at Blinn. All but 74 of those wins were while at Blinn. So I'm proud of that. And you know, I had opportunities to move on. It was just, never saw a good enough reason to leave Blinn. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach. And Coach, if you don't mind, if you would come back up, the trustees and Chair Colquist and I would like to take a photo of you.
Oh, you just have to coach long enough.
Perfect. I'll count to 3 and 1, 2, 3. And just one more time. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Trustees, fair warning, you're going to get a little bit of your steps in today and a little bit of up and down, for a good reason. Congratulations, Coach Church. I'm so proud of you. I'd like to now move on to our dance national championships. Trustees, just a few days after Coach Church earned his 1,000th win, Blinn's dance team captured not 1, but 2 National Dance Alliance championships in Daytona, Florida, winning both the team and the POM titles. Blinn's POM Division Championship marked back-to-back national championships on the heels of their 2023 POM Championship. Under the guidance of our wonderful head coach, Sarah Barlin-Flisowski, Blinn has won a combined 17 cheer and dance national championships since 2014. At this time, I'd like to share a brief video and then invite Sarah to come to the podium to say a few words.
It is extremely hard to get 2 national titles. I felt really, really good about pom, but team dance is a whole different animal. They killed it on the first day and came back and did it again the second day, so I was really excited.
Felt so good to walk off that stage, getting 1 title, and then having to go get another title after that. Like, we knew we had to fight for something, and being able to just achieve that was just the best feeling ever.
It feels bittersweet because going into last year, it was kind of just like the sophomores were really pushing for us to get a win. And just to know that we made them proud and made people from 2019 and all the way to 2014 proud, it just felt really good.
I'm so excited to come back and see all my teammates and the new freshmen and get my 2 rings.
Congratulations, Sarah. Won't you come forward, please?
Thank you very much. I get really nervous, so I'm sorry ahead of time. As a student athlete here and a graduate of Blinn College, this is super important to me. Sorry. I love Blinn, and I love being here, and we have such supportive staff and our athletic department. Without like Debbie and Scott and the support that you guys give us, we wouldn't be where we are. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Come forward, Sarah, and we'll take a photo.
And I'll count to 3, and 1, 2, 3, and just one more time, and 1, 2, 3. Thanks.
They are so amazing, aren't they? So proud of them. Sarah, thank you for everything that you have done at Blinn and continue to do. Really an amazing job. We'll look forward to giving those rings out during the football game next year in the fall. Looking forward to that. Well, we're not through with national championships. Here we go. As you know, trustees, earlier this month, the Blinn College baseball team defeated Northwest Florida State in the finals of the Junior College World Series to win the first national championship in Blinn program history. Blinn won 5 of its 6 games at the World Series and finished the season with a 47-17 record. Along the way, Blinn set numerous World Series records, including tournament records for the longest game. We felt every moment of that, didn't we? The most hits and the most runs scored. And then, upon the team's return to Brenham, hundreds of fans gathered at Leroy Dreyer Field to welcome the team back home. And yes, we did have hamburgers and sausages to welcome them back. I'd like to share a brief video of that celebration, trustees.
Welcome to Leroy Dreyer Field. For the first time, the Blinn College baseball team returns home from Grand Junction, Colorado as Junior College World Series champions. This championship is a testament to your resilience, your teamwork, and to the unyielding determination that embodies the Buccaneer spirit.
This past World Series, they broke and now hold 6 Junior College World Series records. You were phenomenal the whole year. You bent, you never broke.
Everything we do, everything Blinn College is, it starts with the people and ends with the people. That's what's important, and that's what makes Blinn College so special. This place is electric. It takes more than talent to win the national championship. You know, it's just a phenomenal group of young men to support each other the way they do, to love each other the way they do. We're so happy to bring this trophy back to you guys. Thank y'all.
Dusty Hart, congratulations for an incredible season. Won't you come forward?
I don't want to sound too cliche or redundant, but leadership really does start at the top. And I think the courage and vision of the Board of Trustees and Dr. Hensley, the support that you give the entire athletic department, it's just second to none when it comes to junior college baseball. And I know I speak for all of us, all the coaches in the department, that we can't thank you guys enough for everything that y'all do. And, you know, the championships, it's really crazy when you walk into the coach's office over there and there's championship trophies just stacked on top of championship trophies. And it starts with the people at Blinn College. I'm so thankful that y'all gave me the opportunity to lead the baseball program. I'll forever be grateful. And you know, the kids that were on this year's team, I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to watch many of the games, but I mean, talk about just resilient, getting knocked down, getting back up off the floor, and just, you don't do that unless you're playing for something other than just winning. I think it starts with the people here. You know, you have to care about what you're doing. You know, you're not just out there trying to win. Like, it starts with Blinn, and that's the magic sauce. So I can tell you from our team, from our entire athletic department, just thank you for everything y'all do, and go Bucks.
Thank you, Coach. Let's take a photo.
And 1, 2, 3. And just one more time. And 1, 2, 3. Perfect, thank you.
Again, Coach, congratulations. It was so thrilling to be there and to be a part of that history-making event for Blinn College, and your leadership has been phenomenal. And I know on behalf of all the players, they would like to thank you for taking them to the first national championship in Blinn's history. So congratulations again. Well, trustees, there are other people in the room. So I'd like to have an opportunity to introduce Scott Schumacher, our athletic director and also men's head baseball coach. And he is going to, oh my gosh, you know what? I did the reverse of what Scott did.
He did that.
So the reason I'm doing that, okay, Scott, we're even. So Scott goes to Leroy Dreyer Field to speak to this cast of hundreds of people there and congratulates Dusty on his national basketball championship win. So turn around, it's fair play, Scott. Oh, goodness. Well, you know, I just think our coaches are wonderful. I tell them that every day, but you know, I do it actually with the most sincerity. The coaches that we have at Blinn College are phenomenal. And I look at the national landscape and I see other coaches and I see temper tantrums sometimes, and I see a little bit of what I consider not always wonderful professional behavior. And I compare that behavior to what I see and I witness at Blinn College. Our coaches are professional and wonderful, and they are great at the skill of athletics and the sport that they are coaching. But even more so, trustees, they care about the individual child and the person, and they are trying to make sure that they are developing a good graduate of Blinn College who will become a good, productive citizen of this country, and then hopefully turn around and do it in the next generation. So I wanted to take a few moments to have Scott come forward, introduce our coaches so you can reacquaint yourself with them. And we have particularly one new one that you're going to want to meet today too. So Scott, would you come forward again? Congratulations to you as the athletic director for all these wonderful teams, for the great job you do as the basketball coach. And would you just take a few moments, and when you conclude, I'd like to ask all of the coaches and Scott to come forward for one final photo that we could do together with the trustees. Thank you, Scott.
I think Dusty said it best. On behalf of all our coaches, all of our athletic department staff came here today out of respect for what you guys have done for us and for our student athletes. And I particularly really want to thank the board and Dr. Hensley for everything that you guys, all your support. It's amazing whenever you get the support that you've given us. We're able to attract higher level student athletes, not only on the playing field, but off the playing field. And we really appreciate that more than you know. That's why if you look around, our coaches stay here for a long time, and they thoroughly enjoy being here. With that being said, I'd like to also recognize our men's golf coach, David Johnson. David, if you'll stand up. And our women's golf coach, Gary, if you will stand up. Lost in the mayhem of the first national championship baseball, our men's and women's golf team participated in the national tournaments this year. They both qualified. Women finished in 10th and the men finished in 15th. So congratulations, Charles. I also would like to recognize Terry Gamble. Terry, if you'll stand up, and Jeff, if you will stand up. This is our volleyball coach and our women's basketball coach. Terry has been to 4 consecutive national tournaments, and Jeff has been to 3 consecutive national tournaments. That's very difficult to do, so congratulations. As the athletic director, I'm having conversations behind closed doors with our men's basketball coach about trying to get to the national tournament. So don't worry about that. I'll take care of that. The last thing I'd like to do is to let you know that the overall GPA this past year for the athletic department was a 2.8. We had 164 honor roll student athletes. In order to be on the honor roll, you have to have 12 hours of college credit courses. And of the 164 on the honor roll, we had 24 with the 4.0. That's phenomenal. Dr. Hensley touched on it, but I would just want to say to everybody here, thank you. These are a fantastic group of individuals to work with. They are first class. They handle themselves in a very professional way. They understand that within our athletic department, we are trying to bring in student athletes that work to get their degree, are going to behave themselves within the community and compete and try to win as much as possible. And I think that they have done that at a very high level. And again, thank you for letting us come here today and show you our appreciation and recognizing Dusty and Rick and Sarah, the phenomenal job, you guys, and congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Scott, before you go, cross country. Oh, yeah. And you have a few other assistant coaches here and a few other coaches, so why don't you take a moment and just introduce everybody again, and would you all be sure and stand so that our trustees can put a name with a face now.
This is our new cross-country coach, Jesse. He is from Sam Houston State. He was the head cross-country coach at Sam Houston State for 20 years, and he was able to we were able to get him to come here to Blinn. He is recruited and already started signing student athletes. A lot of the kids from the local area, I believe it's Giddings, Sealy, places like that. He's already put together a schedule for cross country. Our first cross country meet will be, I believe it's the 31st, 30th in Southwestern in Georgetown. He will also be participating in men's and women's at a cross country meet up at Texas A&M. So we're very thrilled. Jesse's working extremely hard and doing a great job. I'd also like to introduce one of our new athletic trainers. This is Michael Garcia. We were able to hire Michael. He was the head athletic trainer at Cisco Junior College for 20 years. I told him that when he came to Brenham, he would be thanking us for getting to live in Brenham rather than Cisco, Texas. And but we're very thrilled to be able to attract somebody with his track record here at Blinn to help all of our student athletes. And thank you to Dr. Hensley and Mr. Schubert for allowing us to hire our athletic trainers, and we really appreciate that more than you know. So I'd also like to introduce one more person who's very, very instrumental in our athletic achievements, and that is Miss Erica Thurman. Erica, if you will stand up. This is our academic athletic advisor, and she works extremely hard with our student athletes, guiding them to take the correct courses to earn their college degrees, and she does a phenomenal job, and we love Erica.
Well, you know, we're not through yet.
Okay.
I see Ryan, and others.
Oh, you want me to introduce everybody?
You're catching on,
Okay.
yes.
This is Debbie Watson. She is our athletic business coordinator. The car could not drive without the gasoline, and Debbie's the gasoline in the car. Who else? This is Gene. Stand up, Gene. He's another one of our athletic trainers. This is Ryan Mahan. He is our head football coach, and I'd just like to say that in my 36 years of being in a junior college, and Dr. Krause will attest to this, that Ryan does a tremendous job with the discipline of our football program. If you're in a junior college and your football program is out of control, we have all 18, 19-year-old kids that come to school for the first time, and they're all looking around to see what they can get away with and how they can push the envelope. And when you have a football program that doesn't follow the rules discipline-wise, things get out of hand on campus. And Ryan has kept his group in complete control, and I think that's a reflection of the discipline that continues throughout the campus with our students because of how his football team handles themselves. This is Marco. He is our assistant women's soccer coach. Marco, stand up. He's done a tremendous job for us. This is Coach. This is our women's soccer coach, Alex. She does a great job for us also, and she broke several records. Here's Mac, our men's soccer coach. They broke several records this year, and this is his assistant coach, Rudy Redinger, and there you go. I think that's everybody, Dr. Hensley.
Nice job, everyone.
Oh, this is Jazz. She is our women's assistant basketball coach. She does a tremendous job. She was in the armed forces, and then she earned her college degree, went to the armed forces, and then she got out. We're lucky enough to have her here as a mentor for our student athletes on the women's side. So,
Coach Schumacher, thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your introductions to all of our coaches. Thank you for all that you do at Blinn. You make us proud, and we're just so proud of you and so grateful for you. Two final things. I'd like to note that Trustee Randy Wells is zooming in. I see him on camera. Of all meetings to not be present for, this would be the one. Trustee Wells is phenomenal about going to so many of the athletic events and supporting the athletes. So he is here to observe, but not here personally. And thank you, Trustee Wells, for zooming in for us this morning. We appreciate it. Now, one final thing I'd just like to ask. I know it's a lot. It's going to be a big group. But if Scott Colcorst and I could get in the middle, surrounded by the coaches, tighten up as closely as you can. Trustees behind. We're going to try to get one final picture.
yeah.
It's okay. You can
could step forward just like half a step, that'd be great. All right, and I will count to 3. And 1, 2, 3. And one more time. 1, 2, 3. Thanks.
To everyone in the athletic department, we send our congratulations and appreciations once more. This is a good time unless you would like to stay for the discussion on budget and other matters, this would be a good time to go ahead and slip out. And as Tiffany has food and drinks for you in the kitchen area for you, you all have a blessed and wonderful summer. I know I'll be seeing you often, but we appreciate you. Thank you again for coming this morning. We appreciate it a lot.
Yeah,
Dusty, tread carefully with that trophy. And
don't forget that, Coach.
Chair Colcourse, thank you all, trustees, for your patience with the video and with all of the introductions today, but what an opportunity to celebrate good things that are happening at Blinn College. Chair Colcourse, at this time, I'd like to return the podium back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Hensley. We will now move on to item B in the report section, the presentation of financial statement package for the period ended May 31st, 2024. Dr. Clint Burton.
Good afternoon, Dr. Hensley, trustees. This report is for the end of May, which is 75% of the year. We will cover, as we normally do, unrestricted cash and cash equivalents, revenues, expenditures, financial results, and then observations. This is the pie chart of where we are with our cash. We have $42.5 million set aside for reserves. We have $50 million currently obligated or encumbered for existing projects. We have $10 million for renovations and repairs, and we have $13 million available for discretionary. Looking at this is presenting in a graph, presenting in a chart, the graphical information we just presented. Again, the point of emphasis here is that we've set aside $30 million for a Waller land purchase, and then the remaining amount on the Bryant Administration Building is right at $20 million. Looking at the cash, the student cash came in at $5.8 million, payment from students minus refunds. And then other sources is $600,000. Keep in mind, the state appropriations will be $8 million for the month of June, so we should see a jumping increase in there. Interest is $600,000 for the past month, which is a really healthy amount. Looking at expenditures, Blinn, when throw in payroll, accounts payable, and then mostly payments to the Bryan campus, we're at $11.5 million. So for the month of May, we decreased our cash balance by $4.9 million. That money came from our investment pool and was transferred to the bank and for payments. Looking at the college's revenues, state appropriations, we had an unbudgeted amount this year of an additional $8 million that came in after, $6 million, that came in after the budget was completed. We got the state appropriation. And so Blinn should be doing very good there. Tuition and fees is ahead of where we were last year. And then if you look at interest, we're way above where we were last year and where we were against the budget. So the point is that right now, Blinn should exceed its revenues by a pretty substantial amount of several million. Looking at revenue comparisons, as you can see, tuition and fees as a percentage has gone down because of the increase in the state appropriations. Again, looking at the state appropriations, we're at $26 million right now, $24 million, but we should get an additional $8 million one-time payment coming up in June. Tuition and fees, this does not include summer's enrollment and tuition. So we're at 87%. Looking at the sources of our tuition revenue, as you can see, the lion's share is from out of district. And fee revenue is showing an increase, especially recovery since COVID. Looking at our housing and auxiliary budget, keep in mind, trustees, this budget includes the 4 dorms that we're tearing down in there. So that's where we're at 81%. The upcoming budget should reflect the reduction of those dorms. Moving forward, auxiliary services, housing revenues are coming down because of the P3s and the decrease in dorms. But if you notice, our food service is increasing pretty dramatically, and that's because the P3s have to eat at our cafeteria. Expenditures, looking at this, we are up compared to last year by 4.8 million, but still we are beneath our budget. Coming forward, our primary source of expenditures, lion's share, is payroll and benefits. And the emphasis on this slide is our debt service is just over 7% of our total revenues. Comparing expenses to where we were last year, there's a slight uptick, but that was to be expected with pay raises and increased variable costs as students enroll. Again, the instruction is up as an expenditure, but that's expected as we've come out of COVID. Overall financial results. Right now, our revenue's at 114 million. We have 95 million in expenses, and so we're 19 million to the good. Comparing this year to last year, as I mentioned before, we were 19 million to the positive this year. Last year at this time, we were 12 million. So we're 6 million above where we were last year. Observations, Blinn has a healthy cash balance. Our revenues are above budgets. Our expenses are below budget. And we're optimistic that we'll be able to add cash to the final line. Any additional questions?
Trustees, anyone have any thoughts or questions for Dr. Burton? Don't think so. It's a good report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now move on to item C, the institutional enrollment report for the spring 2024 spring semester, May mini-semester, and summer 1 session. Dr. McBride.
All right. Good morning, Dr. Hensley, Mr. Chair, and board members. I'd like to say thank you for all your support to student services this past year, and I have the pleasure this morning to discuss with you our enrollment numbers for the spring, the May mini-semester, and the summer 1 semester. As you can see on this slide, trustees, that our spring semester numbers. The spring semester started on Tuesday, January 16th, and ended Friday on May 3rd, which was, of course, just last month, and finals were on May 9th. You can see we have a additional 268 students when compared to last year's enrollment, a 1.71 increase in our students here. So of course, we're very excited about that, and we're trending in the right direction. We've surpassed, as you can see, 3 years prior the enrollment numbers, and that's a good thing. We like to see students coming with us and taking their classes. On this slide, trustees, you can see the breakdown by campus, our enrollment for the spring semester. Please note the increase in students on our campuses at Rellis, Distance Education, Schulenburg, Sealy, and of course our dual credit students. We do have a total of 56 agreements. 26 of those had an increase this past year, so that's incredible. I'd also like to note the increase in dual credit students in terms of completing 15 semester credit hours when compared to last year. So in spring of 23, we had 651 students. We had 724 this spring for an increase of 73 students. And that's important to note, of course, with the changing in the metrics and how the college is funded. We had a slight decrease on the Brenham campus and also a decrease on the Bryan campus as well. I know in Brenham we had a higher number of students had transferred out during the holidays to start and complete actually their 4-year degree. So that's the explanation I have for that. The Bryan campus, we are actively recruiting students who have been with us and have left. We do see students who have just stopped out of college altogether. We're working with the National Student Clearinghouse each semester and looking at those students, and they're not going anywhere. We've had a large number not going to college at all. So we're using our customer relations management software, the CRM, and working and talking with those students, encouraging them to come back to college with us. And we also send general messages if we have communication avenues for the parents and the guardians as well, to remind them that they can still come back and see us. So I'd like to thank Dr. Busicki and, of course, Mr. Anderson, who's on with us electronically, for all their support in the course offerings and increasing opportunities for our students. All right, trustees, on this slide, you'll see the takeaways from the spring numbers in this presentation. We're up 1.7% when compared to last year, with an increase of 268 students. We've already surpassed the spring 23 and 22 numbers. The majority of our locations are seeing an increase in the enrollment. And as I mentioned, the dual credit students, we saw an increase of 73 students when compared to last spring. Yes, ma'am.
Are the majority of those added on from Waller?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Good question, though. Thank you. Okay, trustees, on this slide, we will see our May mini enrollment numbers from this past mini-mester. As a reminder, the May mini sessions are all online, and they're very condensed format. So the duration of the semester was Monday, May 13th through Tuesday, May 29th, with finals on Wednesday, May 30th. These students only have 11 class days and 1 day of finals, so very condensed. Most students only take one class, for obvious reasons. And we also notice with the May mini semester, students academically perform very well because they're focused on one course and one course only. I know we're down, as you can see, when compared to 23, which we had a very high number, of students that enrolled last May mini-mester, but we're still up when compared to 21 and 22. We are trending, I believe, in the right direction. I'd also like to comment, my next presentation is on completers and graduation. We saw a boost in students who completed their degrees with us in the spring, which I believe impacts the smaller terms in the summer and the May semester as well. Excuse me. On this slide, trustees, are our numbers from the summer one enrollment. You can see we're down by 91 students for summer one of this year. Summer semester one ran from, it started on June 3rd and it goes through Monday, August 5th with finals on Tuesday, August 6th. So still in session with these courses right now. And as I mentioned earlier, I believe this semester was also impacted by students who completed and didn't need to take some short sessions with us. I would like to note, if you see that we have a positive contact hours and negative credit hours, just wanted to touch base on that briefly. We did see some courses this year that, when compared to last year, they went from a 3-hour format to a 2-hour format, and then we had an increase in enrollment in those courses. So we're not looking at the same credit hours for the classes that were offered last year. So just wanted to note on that's why you see a positive number with contact hours and a negative for the credit hours. I'll stand for any questions, please.
Trustees, any thoughts? I do have one question or
Please.
thought or concern. We've talked within this board a fair amount regarding the Bryan campus, Rellis, kind of where those student attendees are and our numbers. And I know that Texas A&M has somewhat changed some of their entrance policies. I'm curious, and I don't know if you could help the board to understand how many new freshmen are going into Texas A&M now as opposed to in the past that could potentially be students that would have gone to Bryan's campus for the transfer. Do you have any thoughts, or have y'all done that analysis?
I know I have shared those numbers to this board in past, I believe it was I want to say BAIF, and we can get those numbers and share those if you want exact numbers, but you are right, Chair. The freshman class at A&M has increased over the past at least 5 years that we've shared with this board, and it does directly, of course, impact the Bryan campus.
I don't know, but I think I would like to get a refresher on that.
Sure.
If you guys could maybe pull those numbers just for our edification.
It's a good point, and I do recall that very well. Every year they kept going up.
I have a
Trustee
question,
Mosier.
Mr. Chairman. I want to kind of have the same kind of question about the Brenham campus in the sense that I think prior to COVID, and I think that the administration had made comments at some of the board meetings that the goal would be like, at that time, was like 3,000 students. And my question is, it seems like that during this time, we've also added esports, we've added red shirt programs to baseball and football, we've added soccer for boys and girls, golf for boys and girls, and or men and women, and now cross country. We've been proactive in a lot of that. We built a lot of new facilities. We've got 2 new dorms that are brand new that we're obligated to get paid for. So my question is, we gotta have some sense of leadership or of where we're going on this enrollment in terms of what are our potentials or our lack of potential to grow the Blinn College campus here in Brenham. And we're spending a lot of money here in the sense that, again, tuition is our cornerstone of our revenue source. And we've got these other campuses that are essentially providing the bulk of that revenue for their tuition, the number of students we have enrolled in Bryan and College Station and hope to have in other places. So my question is, what's the balance here? What can we do here? I mean, we had a great celebration here this morning, and that's great, but are we going to be able to get our enrollment back going a little bit more? And I'm also, if you take out the pluses of the distance ed in the high schools, I mean, that's been a big part of, I mean, that was the gain, some of the gain we had. And in my understanding, that's, as it is described, is distance education, and it's dual credits from their high schools. Can we get a little, could there be some discussion about that as to how do we proceed in the future for this and see our campus here in Brenham in terms of enrollment?
Thank you for the question. A few things I'd like to note on. I know for housing, that's a huge deal for this campus. We are, of course, application opened up earlier this year, so we opened it in January as opposed to February 1st to give new students an opportunity to apply earlier with us and to onboard earlier and to know they're coming to this campus. We monitor that a couple times a week. I mean, I look at it a few times. I know housing looks at it daily, and we actually communicate with students. We are ahead in terms of students who have applied for housing on this campus and completed all the steps, and that includes registering for classes for the fall semester. So I do see an increase with that, and I know the staff actively calls students who haven't completed their steps in order to get their housing completed. So people don't just apply and we let them sit there. We actively communicate with them using the CRM, also with live phone calls to get those students onboarded to finish what they need to finish. The other thing I did see last year were GPAs of students on this campus weren't as high as they'd been in the past either. I have to remind myself that the students that are here now were first 2 years of high school when COVID was ongoing. So we did see a decline in the GPAs of students on the campus. And as you know, if you don't academically do well, you can't stay either, correct? If you're not being as successful as you need to be. We're also working on programming within the halls next year to help students become more academically successful, so addressing the GPA as well. I know students that enter our world in terms of online, or we meet them at TAC or recruiting events. We do constantly communicate with students. We don't let people just sit there in the pipeline, and we work with them to onboard them to the campus. So I thank you for the question, and does that answer your question, or is there anything else I can answer for you today?
I'm not sure that it does, but I'm not sure that it doesn't either. I don't,
Sure.
I mean, I'm kind of, I'm just curious if we have do we have goals about how many students we want to try to get, or do we know what we want to try to, I mean, I know we want to take all we can get, but is there some number or magic number, or is there anything that could be considered as an appropriate goal for us to try to achieve, or I'm just, and I'll add to this, and for the benefit of the new members of the board, is that, again, one of the challenges that Dr. Hensley had and this board had in a big way was that some of the leadership in Bryan College Station felt that they had the most students over there, and they wanted an appropriation according to the number of students over there. And I think that as we go about our business, we always need to keep in mind that's always kind of out there to be considered and be a part of how we spend our money, or how we try to achieve, or what success we have with enrollment in Brenham versus other places. And so I think that's something that the administration and the board needs to try to spend some time learning about, or just trying to figure out what the future might be for our enrollment. And more than just, I think you're working the programs as hard as you can to get the people. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, what is our anticipation? Do you have do we have a 5-year plan? Do we have like I said, I think we had some, and I think Dr. Hensley, I may be wrong, but I thought at one time we had some just informal conversations that we thought we could be to 3,000.
I think that was part of the 10-year, the master plan, that their projection was out 10 years that we could be at 3,000 students. If my memory serves me correct, I think that's correct. It was, in over a 10-year period of time, based on growth in the community, et cetera, that they thought that we could be in the 3,000 range at that point. I did have another question, though, in regards to distance education versus Brenham attendance. Do we have any idea? I know we're in 2020, we were at 2,469 kids in distance education, and now we're at 4,173. How does that impact, for instance, Brenham enrollment? Is it possible that some of those kids that may be at Brenham are now distance education kids, or how do y'all count that?
The courses are counted where the majority of your classes land. So if you're taking 3 classes, distance education, and 1 here in Brenham, you're counted as distance education. We don't have a huge number of that, though. And I know that because we send a survey out to those students every long semester that are from the general areas around this campus, Brenham, Burton, Sealy, that type of thing. And it's a small number. It's not a large number. It's a couple hundred students. So the majority of them aren't taking distance ed and taking 1 class here. They're either, if I'm making sense, if they're on Brenham, they're here most of the time. Most of them aren't going remote for 3 classes and coming here 1 day a week. It's a small number. They're from all over. They're from all over, yes, ma'am. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've been wondering, because yes, definitely COVID hit, distance education just took off. But it seems like it has continued to be high. So I don't know how you reduce that so that you're on campus. And I guess part of it is if you're on distance education, you're not having housing,
Right.
etc.
Maybe I could add to this. I think Chair Colcourse is in the right track. COVID created a paradigm shift in higher education, and distance education is a major portion of that. I think that the fact that we are still growing, despite 3 years after post-COVID, we're still growing our enrollment in distance education. I think that that's a fact that we will have to deal with it and work around it. I was just talking to Beck before this, before the beginning of this meeting. If you look at the enrollment for summer 1, what you observe is that there is still a very high interest in distance education as opposed to face-to-face classes. So, and we were discussing maybe for next year we should try offering many of the courses in distance education format and the labs obviously face-to-face. Those that need must be face-to-face. I think that that same issue is affecting profoundly the Bryan campus. If there is one campus that is vulnerable to shifts in enrollment, is the Bryan campus, right? And distance education is part of that. For those A&M students that are now much more comfortable with the online environment, it's much easier for them now just to go online and take the one class, the two class that they would have in the past, taken on campus in the Bryan campus, and take those courses online. So I think that we are, as I said, in a paradigm shift that we need to adapt. And how we are going to, Trustee, you're absolutely right, we will have to take a look at how we are going to move in a different direction, perhaps, even considering enrollment. Now, I want to point out also that, yes, for Blinn College, it's important. Enrollment is important for Blinn College. But what we, according to the state, we should focus more on completion and transfer than headcount. Granted, because we depend so heavily in tuition and fees, that one student is still important. But we also should not be losing focus from what is going to bring the revenues from the state revenues. So that's, I'm not sure if it clarifies anything, but I think that's important for us to really deal with this issue of distance education. And we are, Becky and I are on a daily basis, essentially daily basis, trying to analyze what's going on. Becky has a very good point also about the completion. I think what we really need to do is to retain those students, the students that we have. We were looking at data from recently. Many of what our students just stop coming to class. The GPA of those students are in between 2 and 2.8%, 2.8 GPA. That tells me that those students could very well be transferring to a different institution. So what is it that we can do? And I think that that's what Becky and I need to work with. What is it that we can do to retain that one student instead of letting them go and avoid that they leave us? So that's exactly what we are working on. We had a meeting with Becky and Leighton recently, and we are focused on retention. The next fall semester is going to be, we will start very heavily working in retention of those students, because it's also, on top of everything, it's less expensive to maintain a student than recruit a student. So I think that we now need to work in multiple avenues. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if I added anything, but I would like to.
Along that line, just out of curiosity, just really thinking outside of the box, would it be possible for us to consider, once a student gets to a certain number of hours within our system, that their tuition is reduced by a certain point, so that they actually get a discount for finishing out here as opposed to transferring to another college?
That's probably not a question for me to answer.
Just call it an incentive.
I'm happy to respond to several comments. First of all, thank you for the great discussion, and I appreciate your concern on, as we share on enrollment. I'd like to go over some things that were mentioned and just in no particular order address some of them. Trustee Mosier remembers very accurately, probably more than anyone on the board since he's been here the longest, that there was a concern out of Bryan area, out of the Brazos area, for the primary, the largest amount of our enrollment coming from that area, and monies perhaps not being reinvested back into that area. And originally, about 9 years ago, there was a concern that got down to the budget level, asking the board at that time to consider putting the money from whence it came, so to speak. And this board has, and I certainly support this, has tried to look at the district globally and spend across the college district where the need is, and also expanding our footprint into the various counties. But we always have to keep that in mind, don't we, Mr. Mosier, that we went through some difficult, challenging times back then with a concern expressed that we were taking money from that area and spending it in other campuses. So it's always prevalent in my mind, and I think I would encourage you to always keep that in your mind as we make budget decisions. So that is an absolute true statement that the college lived through. Regarding the 3,000, you know, we were on a trend, every now and then a little bit of a stair step, one step up, one step down, but we were on a trend going from back to about 2014, 15, of increasing. I'm thinking particularly the fall enrollment, not so much focused on the spring enrollment, because the fall enrollment is generally what we consider to be our enrollment for the colleges compared to other colleges in Texas. COVID hit and we dropped very significantly. As I looked at the chart this morning for the spring, we are about 1,000 students less than we were in 2020. So, you know, that's pretty good recovery when you look at it going back 4 or 5 years and seeing really in the terms of the overall enrollment, we're pretty still much in a good place. But I do think it's very important to keep a watchful eye on the Bryan campus and on the Brenham campus. So Mr. Mosier is probably reflecting even on some number of years ago where I was so optimistic on that stair-step growth that I was saying 4,000 for the Brenham campus. You might remember that, Mr. Mosier, as well. We did have our auditors come in and do the master plan for us, and I think that's where that 3,000 growth is coming in over a period of time. We aren't going to get to the 4,000, I don't believe, anytime soon. I'm hoping for the 3,000, but it's still a little bit of catching up. So I'm not as concerned, trustees, overall on the overall number. We're about 18,000 in the fall. We got almost under 19,000 at our high point before COVID. So we're getting there, but I really want to watch the Bryan campus and the Brenham campus. Of the two most, I'd like to watch that Bryan campus. So that leads me to Trustees Colcourt's comments about what impact potentially did in the past and does currently and into the future Texas A&M and they're increasing their freshman class have on Blinn. It has a direct impact on us. There is no question about that. And they have increased their freshman count every year for the last number of years. And I do believe that that has an impact on students choosing to be able to go ahead directly into A&M since we're very much a transfer into that institution. You may recall too that I had a good conversation with one of the system vice chancellors recently who explained to me too that it's in their master plan that they are going to try to actively increase some of the program areas at A&M that are low enrollment. So you have something, for example, like Mays Business School, which maxes out immediately, but you may have other program areas. I'm going to make this up. I don't know if this is true, but I'll just say foreign language as an example that may has room to grow. So the flagship institution at A&M has determined that it's going to try to fill those that have that space to grow. So they're going to be accepting more freshmen into those areas. And those areas, again, oftentimes directly impact Blinn College because it's the core programs, and that's what we offer as core courses. So I know we have provided that, and we definitely will put that out again for the numbers just to recollect everybody's memory on this one. But that is generally what is happening with the A&M freshman class. They are increasing. Not only are they increasing the freshman class, but they're actively working to fill in some of those program areas where they have additional growth that they can accept students to a greater extent, and that does have also a direct impact. And also, I would say that that directly impacts, of all of our campuses, the Bryan campus more than any of them, much more so than Sealy, Schulenburg, or even this campus. I do want to commend staff very much for their efforts. I know that they are working very much to try to analyze the numbers, and I was very surprised when I heard Dr. McBride explain to me recently about we're seeing that these students are dropping out and not returning to any college, and we know that because we can track it. So that's interesting, and it gives us a different marketing outreach approach to try to get those students back into college. So I would say, just in summary, I think overall our enrollment is doing well. What Dr. Brasicki said about it's still important. We still have the credentials of value that we have to track for actual funding, but the enrollment is always going to matter. If we don't have the enrollment, then we don't get the credentials of value. So they absolutely go hand in hand. Overall, our numbers are still looking quite good. I think we need to keep a watchful eye on Bryan and, to some degree, the Brenham campus, but particularly the Bryan campus is the one that's most concerned to me, and use every strategy that we can. I think, for example, you didn't mention the Washington County Scholarship, but just trying to get the word out that that is available. And we have many families who are not taking advantage of it. Why? So we've established a very good working relationship right now with Brenham ISD, kind of reestablished on that one and gotten that going, have some joint meetings working together on that. Those kinds of strategies can pay off in enrollment, I think. So no clear answer, just you asked for kind of a discussion, and that's what we're doing, just kind of discussion. Certainly welcome your ideas and suggestions. I do think, finally, I would say that the programs that we are trying to implement on this campus have been helpful to keep that enrollment going. They are a draw for this campus. And the last thing I would say is, I don't think Becky quite touched on Mr. Colcourse's question regarding distance learning, so I just want to come back on that one a little bit. We did have our numbers go up dramatically, positively on distance learning with COVID, and they are still up. Did that can we calculate, I'm not sure, how many actually might have come to Brenham? I'm not sure about that, but you can see, just look at our spring on the distance learning, we're up 1,600 students still from where we were in 2020 on distance learning. So how many of those distance learning would have been on to the Bryan campus on the Brenham campus? I have to think that a large number of them would be. Why do I think that? I think that because our distance learning numbers were much lower back in the 2020. So whether it's coming from the Bryan campus or the Brenham campus, I can't say, but I can definitely look at 1,600 more students than we had back 5 years ago in distance learning. That they're still coming to Blinn, but they're not coming to the face-to-face on the campus. Everything that you all have said is true, and I think we still have to do everything we can to keep those numbers strong. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to some of this.
Very good. Does anyone else have any thoughts or questions? If not, we will move on to item D in the report section, the Spring 2024 graduation report. Dr. McBride.
Thank you, Chair Colcourse. It works like magic today. I didn't even touch anything, and the presentation's up there already. All right. Well, good morning again, Dr. Hensley, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you again for your time. I can still say this morning, we're going to talk about graduation, and we're just talking a little bit about registration and onboarding students. Student services has such a unique position at the college. So we onboard students, and even today at our Bryan campus, we have a new student registration day. We have 120 students that said they are coming with their families. I was at the registration day there last Tuesday. We actually had 126. We had some walk-ins, 126 students come with their families and spent some time with us and registered for the fall semester. So we start them off with that, and then we also get to see them at graduation. So it's a very rewarding experience for myself and my staff as well. So, and wishing and sending good vibes to our folks up in Bryan and onboarding students today. As you can see on this slide, trustees, a picture of us at graduation that just took place on May 8th. I am thrilled to say we had a very large number of students who walked. We had 267 students who actually participated in the ceremony just last month. And of course, I'm sure many of you also enjoy watching graduation and participating and celebrating in our students' accomplishments. And you can see there's a link on there if you happen to want to watch the video or parts of the video. You can see how we celebrated the students in their day just a few weeks ago. been about a year, I think, since we've talked about the different types of applicants that come to student services. So you can see on the screen we have 3 types. We have the regular graduation applicant, students who are on track with completing their degrees, and they go through the portal in My Blinn and they fill out the application. Students have from the first day of the spring term all the way till May 31st to apply for graduation. We also have the reverse transfer students, our past students, of course, of Blinn College, who are now attending another college or university, and they transfer their courses back to us to complete their degree or certificate. We also have the lost graduates, so the students who were found, we found that they had completed all of their requirements, and we do some outreach to them as well for graduation. On this slide, trustees, you can see our numbers. So we have increased, I'm proud to say we've increased our number in students who have successfully completed their degrees. So we have an increase in 106 students when compared to last year, as you can see on the screen. So that's great news for the college in terms of completion and moving those students along. We did some different things this year. I know we revamped our webpage a little bit. We also ran ads, I'm sorry, I disappeared there. We ran some ads in the battalion encouraging the reverse transfer students so they could transfer and get the degree from us. And we also sent out some more messages with our CRM, reaching out to students, also encouraging them to do what they needed to do if they hadn't applied for graduation and they were eligible. So exciting news, and I'm sure we'll continue to see additional students completing as we move forward in time. And so with that, I'll stand for any questions, please.
Dr. McBride?
Yes,
I have
ma'am.
a question. We've talked a lot about the new funding model, the state funding model. And in our reports, we have total enrollment, which we discussed is very key to completing graduations and transfers and so forth. We've talked about graduation rates. We have touched on dual credit students. How do we complete this picture, or what's in process for us to see? We know that Blinn is the leading transfer community college in the state of Texas with 46 or 48%. Can we quantify these certificates that are earned? Can we quantify these transfers so that we can perhaps see those trends, or what's in process for doing that? Because these reports are probably going to be changing it, or need to be addressing those things so that we can determine and monitor what's going on.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. And it's something we're already working on in student services. I've met with some of my folks, registrars, area, and also institutional research. And we're going to be revamping, actually, we're in the process of revamping these slides for the fall semester. So we're just finishing up the academic year, if that makes any sense, with formats that you've seen. But some of these things, it's not, I'm going to say it's not as important as we're talking about enrollment. It is still very important. But you're right, we need to see more of a breakdown of who's completing, how long is it taking them to complete, more information about dual credit. That's why I wanted to share that, just so you know we are increasing, but we are working on updating these reports.
Well, and you would, I'm sorry, the programs that are working in career and tech, where are our people? Do we need to expand those? You know, we would need to know. I get questions a lot. What type of career programs do you have? And I can tell them, but I don't have no clue as to what the breakdown of those, and that would be very helpful, I think, as selling points, if nothing else. So.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, thank you, Trustee Cato, for that question. One of the things I do want to just mention while we're in this conversation is the funding models for the state are not necessarily based on a semester-to-semester model. There are 3-year averages that work in fold to get your state funding numbers. So we have those numbers, and the coordinating board tracks all those numbers, but I do want to just make a comment that while we're comparing spring to spring, that's not how the coordinating board does it for funding purposes. It's a 3-year model average that goes into play. So we'll be happy to provide those numbers and have those numbers, but I do want to just make a word of caution. just because you see an increase in spring to spring, that doesn't necessarily mean there's still a 3-year average that the coordinating board uses to work that analysis. So, but we are working with Dr. McBride on how we can update these reports based on the new funding model, but I just want to make that one word of note.
Quick question. The lost graduates, I'm assuming now with the new funding model, if we find them, then we get more money.
Yes, ma'am.
Because, I mean, that's why I'm just wondering why someone would go through all that and not apply.
I think the same way, have that
Okay.
conversation quite a bit with my folks. Why would you go through all that work? But, you know, we also have students that refuse to participate in graduation. You know, there's some students that actually go through the completion and they don't want to walk because we ask them all. So it's, I wish I could give more insight, but
But it looks like you're making progress.
yes, ma'am.
And Trustee Ayler, it's another great observation because the state doesn't care what category of completion it's in, whether it's reversed or lost, or it's just a completion. And so that's why we've been mining this data to find that, because whether it's a traditional graduation, a reverse transfer, or a lost grad, that all counts for completion under the new state rules. So that's why we're putting so much emphasis in finding not just the traditional graduates, but those reverse and lost grads.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Dr. McBride.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we will move on to the consent item portion of our agenda. All items listed in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Trustees and will be enacted upon one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a trustee so requests, in which event the item will be removed from consent and considered in discussion and possible action. Trustees receive agenda materials in advance of the meeting to prepare for the business to be conducted. The item on the agenda to be approved is the approval of minutes for the May 21st, 2024 regular meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve. Trustee Ayler and Trustee Kettler seconds. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, now what we've all been waiting for. Discussion and possible action items, adoption of budget and stipends for fiscal year 2024, 2025. Dr. Burton.
Good afternoon, or morning, still morning.
Yes, sir.
This is the budget discussion that we've had. I believe this is our 4th iteration where we've gone through various pieces of it. Just reviewing where we are in the process. In November and December, the staff and administration gather data, and then we do analysis, and then we come to the board in March through June, giving various pieces and parts, and then it's implemented and reviewed for monitoring, and this cycle continues throughout the college. The first point of emphasis is cash, and that consistent with what we reported, we have a healthy cash balance and are able to address some facilities needs. Looking at the overview, we got revenues, expenses, and complete budget. But let me pause here and give you an update on revenues. When we started the revenue process, we assumed that the state would appropriate an amount. We got news in mid-May that they're going to reduce our appropriations by $4.4 million. We got news last week that they have, the state co-board has rerun the model based on data that Dr. McBride's staff provided on co-enrollment numbers, which Mr. Schubert made where we could get it funded. They restored 1.2 million. So from going from the 4.4, we've gone to 3.2 million cut. That's a 9.8% cut instead of 13%. As a point of reference, Blinn had the largest cut in state appropriations in the state of Texas. And so while other entities across the state had an average of a 3% gain, Blinn lost 9.8% compared to the prior year. So, but it is positive news that we do have $1 million that are not reflected in this budget. So rolling on, the cost of an estimated 4% is $2.4 million increase in salary. That includes benefits. The adjustment to the longevity would be $486,000. That includes benefits. We got good news from the state that there's no health insurance rate increase, and this budget includes a $25 pay increase on the schedule. Looking at it by basic lines, we did get an increase in state appropriation for budget-wise of $1.8 million, an increase of tuition for $1 in district, in service, and out of state, plus a $3 increase in general fees would give us $1.4 million. We're taking away the demolished dorms from the budget, and then we had an increase, a small increase in food service. So we almost have we almost have $3 million in new revenues. Looking at the proposed cost, we had a decrease in debt service, a minimal amount. R&R is now going to be funded from outside of the operating budget. Full-time employee salary increases, as I mentioned earlier, the $2.4 million. Tiered longevity is right at $500,000 or just under $500,000. Part-time increase would get us $100,000. And then personnel budget would be $1 million increase. And then operational budget request is 1.2. Then to address the $4.4 million cut, administration identified $2.7 million in cuts. Then we have Waller expenses going up at $300,000, and then a men's women's cross country team of $351,000. Rolling forward, looking at the revenues for the proposed year, for the year coming up. Oh, what's going on here? Okay, so we've budgeted a $29 million in revenues compared to the 26 budgeted last year. But also, we're budgeting $21 million of operational expenses. This does not include debt service. When you add debt service to the $21 million, that comes up to the $29 million that is reflected. Operational expenses, as a percentage, very consistent from where they were with the last year's budget. Repairs and renovations budget. Facilities, with Mr. Feldhage, has identified roughly $2.5 million for the Bryan Rellis area, and then an additional 2.4 for the Brenham campus, and then we've got the two campuses together come up to be right at $4.9 million. Any questions or comments?
Question. And I know you've already said this, it was asked before, but I forgot. On your tuition and fee budget projections, are you, what enrollment are you using your no enrollment increase?
I'll confirm this, but I believe it's no enrollment increase, correct? Yes.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I want to make sure I have the right.
All right, thanks.
I have, when you, early on here, you said budget reductions of $2.7 million.
Yes, sir.
Is that reducing the previous year budget, or are you talking about what you had in the budget originally for this?
For original budget, yes, sir.
So you're really not cutting anybody's budget, about $2.7 million.
There are going to be some cuts, sir, in
reducing what they've requested or what
there will be some cuts in some of the rollovers and things like supplies and consumables.
Yes. So, just that we're not cutting people, or we're not.
No, sir. No, it's personnel is intact. Yes, sir. Right. And I'll confirm with the.
That's correct. As I mentioned at the Rellis discussion meeting that we had, it's a combination, Mr. Mosher, of both. There are some reductions from what was asked for next year, and then there is a little bit of trimming back across the board. So we reduced travel for staff. I believe it was 15%. We reduced consumable of 10%. Off the current budget. We did some purchases of computers, for example. Normally we would have ordered some after September the 1st of the next fiscal year. We went ahead and ordered them off of this current fiscal year and so forth.
So, Dr. Burton, if I'm looking at this correctly, the budget that you're proposing at this point includes a 4% increase for staff, is that correct?
That is correct, sir. And then additional longevity pay for both staff and faculty. This will be the first year that staff has received the longevity pay.
As we have discussed in previous meetings.
Yes, sir.
The new format. Well, I would also go in to say that in regards to Dr. Hensley and her situation regarding wage increases, in light of the challenges that we encountered with reduction in revenue that we found out in May, that the state was going to cut the amount that we had. It was very important to Dr. Hensley that we be able to give the very maximum raise that we possibly could, and she offered up voluntarily to accept no wage increase on her behalf. So I just wanted to make sure that that was known for the administration, for the staff, and obviously this board already knew that, but that is what I would propose, and I would entertain a motion from someone here to approve the budget.
Also move.
Trustee Mosier?
Yes, sir.
Trustee Benke seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Before you leave, I have one question here. This is just a curiosity that one of the other board members brought to my attention, and it says the increase is primarily due to increase in salary and benefits of $455,000 and $221,000 of other professional services of sign language interpreter for disability services. Tell me what that entails. Is that several people, or is that a lot of people?
I apologize, that was in our notes. I will speak on it, and then we'll work through there. What happens with sign language is it's very difficult to budget. You don't know who is coming and who isn't. And so that is an element in those numbers. And then Dr. McBride, you're wanting to speak on this?
Thank you, Clint. And yes, that's true. And we contract with a department, it's not a Blinn employee, we contract with off-site folks to do that for us. And so students register with disability services, and based on their needs, we have to hire the off-campus, off-site folks to come and offer those services for students. And students don't always tell us at the beginning of the semester. Sometimes they come mid-semester when they're having issues with their classes and realize, I really should receive my services. And we are required by law to provide those services to students who give us the documentation. So we never really know for sure what that amount is going to be, hence the increase.
And it's very difficult to budget out of them.
So it's a budgeted number that we may or may not use.
Correct.
May I ask one more question? I just want to be clear. On the state appropriation funding kind of 4.4, we received, I guess, settlement, if you will, of 1.2 back, correct?
Correct, yes, ma'am. It's still a negative 3.2 compared to last year.
Will that be adjusted any further, or is that final? Are they still looking at anything, or are we?
Happy to jump in there. We're still working with the coordinating board. So what was worked with the coordinating board was the co-enrollment piece that was taken care of, and that's why you see that 1.2% increase. The next item we're working on are the transfer numbers, and those transfer numbers we're diving in with the coordinating board. Those are much more involved because there's just so many of them, and so we're going through and combing through those numbers with the coordinating board, hoping to get that looked at and fixed and brought in. Now, there are two chances you have to fix those numbers. The first one is right now, because the coordinating board is going to approve these items at their July board meeting. So that's the first option. And then in February of each year, under the new House Bill 8 rules, there's a re-analysis of the numbers from the coordinating board, and if there are corrections that need to be made, they're made after that February analysis that the coordinating board does. So we have two options to make those corrections, either between now and the July board meeting, or at the February re-analysis that the coordinating board does every year for all community colleges.
I have a question on that. On the February thing, I was more of the understanding that if we ended up going past the forecast, that would just be additional earned monies, I guess. Like if you did better than what they forecasted, that was when that payment would come in. Is that not correct? Or is it just corrections only? It doesn't change?
It only goes up, it doesn't go down. Let me make that comment. The
But it could
coordinating
in
board-
October.
The coordinating board will not take money away from you in February. They will only get increases in February. So they will reanalyze all the numbers at the February at the February timeline, and if you have outperformed your metrics, then you get that additional money. You're exactly right. But they will not take it away mid-year.
However, if we underperform, that reduces our payment then in the October, correct?
That reduces back into the next year's analysis that they do. So those changes would be made before the next fiscal year starts and that payment comes. Because remember, it used to be a 2-year biennium payment setup. Now under House Bill 8, it's a single fiscal year payment. So they're making those adjustments every single year. So there's no longer, this is what I'm getting for the next 2 years. It's this is what I'm getting for this upcoming fiscal year. And then they'll reanalyze every year to change those numbers on a yearly basis then.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, we will move
Well,
on.
just real quick, I would like to thank Ms. Beckendorf for all of her efforts in that. Dr. Hensley knows the budget very well and can train a CFO. And then Ms. Schubert knows a lot and did a lot of work on it. So a lot of work getting us here, and I appreciate all their efforts.
Thank you guys for all the work that you put in very much.
Chairman Kokos, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Trustee
Good morning,
Webb.
everybody. I apologize for not being there. I'm actually in Georgetown, Texas with a group of 12 young ladies for our summer program. But my question is, what is our level of advocacy beyond Blinn with the coordinating board? Because it's very disturbing to me that we would have the highest cut of the 50 junior colleges, and considering the fact that we have the highest transfer rate. And again, going back to Trustee Moshe's comment, that we are a tuition-driven college. So whereas the majority of the colleges are tax-based driven, this doubly impacts us in a very adverse way. So is there any additional external advocacy that we're doing with the coordinating board to express our disappointment in this?
Thank you, Trustee Wells, for that question. The simple answer is yes. We have engaged lots of our external partners, both inside and outside the coordinating board. I was in Austin yesterday, meetings with the coordinating board on several subjects. And we are going to continue to do those external outreaches. And trustees, I don't want to speak too much at this point, but I believe there's going to be some items related to this in the upcoming legislative session, and I'll leave it at that.
I agree.
In other words, we're not going to let it lie.
No sleeping dogs lying around here.
That's right. Okay, we will move on to item B under 6, the request authorization for administration to seek qualifications for engineering services related to central plant upgrades on the Blinn Brenham campus. Dr. Burton, I bet you're going to hand this off. Mr. Feldake.
Morning, Chairman Colcourse, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. I'm here to present to you agenda item 6B, which is a request that the board authorize administration to seek qualifications for engineering services related to central plant upgrades on the Blinn Brenham campus. This is a project we've discussed recently in some of our board meetings in relationship with the layout of the long-term master plan. And as we previously discussed, this is a high importance to the college. So what this request would be based on the phase 1 projects listed in the master plan, the central plant upgrades on the Blinn Brenham campus would include HVAC system rehabilitation to the central plant portion of the Bullock building, including replacement of various chillers, pumps, reconfiguration of internal piping, addition of a new cooling tower. And the estimated cost of this project is $6.8 million. The estimated project schedule allows for the design to begin in the fall of 2024 and to reach substantial completion by the fall of 2026. To give the board a little bit of a representation, the original central plant was built in 1989 and has seen very little modification over the years. We did a slight modification to it when we built the STI building, but over half of our cooling capacity is original to that central plant. So it's imperative that we begin looking at this right now. Upon board approval, the administration would publish a request for qualifications for professional engineering services related to the design and construction administration of the proposed central plant upgrades at the Blinn campus. Once the administration receives reviews and tabulates the qualification statement, the administration will present a recommendation to the Board of Trustees for approval. Funds for this are available from unrestricted cash. And with that, I would stand for any questions on this.
Well, just a quick question. I know that we don't make things like we used to, so we may not be able to expect 35 years out of this, but do you have any indication or thoughts on, how long this investment should last the college?
Generally, chillers are going to last you 15 to 20 years, and some of that has got to do with the maintenance and the newer technology that you can get in those. So this is, we've really gotten our money out of those older chillers that are 35 years old. There are some other aspects of capacity and redundancy that we're also trying to address with this. So I believe that this is a good 15 to 20-year investment for the college.
Any questions, Dennis?
Make a motion. We move to authorize the administration to seek qualifications.
Got a motion? Kettler gives a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Comment, I was around when the first one.
You're showing your age there.
Yeah, I lived it anyway.
Yeah.
I've heard about it.
Okay, is there any executive session? Yes, please.
I'd just like to say two things, trustees. First of all, look at the TV screen, and did you notice that we have our QEP on display? So Michael Welch in our IT department has set all of our computer screens throughout the college to default to the QEP in preparation as we get ready for our on-site visit in October for our SACS accreditation visit. So I thought you might like to notice that. More importantly, and most importantly, I'd like to thank the trustees for your leadership and leading us to the completion and the adoption of today's budget. I'd particularly like to thank Chris Beckendorf, Vicki Ward, Clint Burton for your leadership from the Finance and Business Office for all that you have done. This was a challenging budget, to say the least. It was unpredictable. It is still unpredictable. And you all, quote, went with the flow, unquote, and did a magnificent job for which we are most appreciative. Trustees, I thank you so very much for your leadership and your governance. We appreciate you so immensely. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hensley, and thank you for setting the tone in leadership. We do not have an executive session today, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Trustee Benke, Trustee Krausen seconds. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you very much. It is 11:48 a.m.